with us, joining us, guest John Ludwick, friend of Joran van der Sloot. John, thank you for being with us, joining us tonight exclusively out of D.C. You're a friend of Joran van der Sloot's. Are you surprised that he's actually pled guilty to murder?
Well, he really didn't have a choice in this situation, so I'm just hoping for the best.
Well, what do you mean he didn't have a choice?
I mean, even I can't dispute the evidence. He obviously murdered her. I'm not saying that it wasn't provoked, and I believe he did have post-traumatic stress syndrome. But
what do you mean provoked? You think Stephany Tatiana provoked Joran van der Sloot into murdering her? What do you mean by that?
I do believe so. If she got the email and figured out he was involved in Natalee stuff, she should have just immediately left the room and not confronted him.
What? How did that provoke him? That she said, "Whoa, are you the one that people believe killed Natalee?" How did that provoke him into murder?
It enraged him, obviously. So she shouldn't have done that. I don't believe
she shouldn't have done that. Okay, John Ludwick, no offense, but do you realize how crazy you sound right now? That she basically deserved the murder because she said, "Whoa, you're the guy they suspect that murdered Natalee Holloway?" That she shouldn't have said anything? That it's her fault she didn't leave the hotel room? Do you realize how crazy you sound?
I'm not saying she deserved it, but she definitely could have prevented it by just leaving immediately, and he was suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah, I didn't ask you about the post-traumatic stress syndrome. I'm asking you about Stephany Flores. You just said she provoked him into murder. Have you seen the crime scene? Her blood was smeared from the bottom of the wall to the top of the ceiling. She's covered in bruises, half naked. He stole thousands of dollars from her and said his only problem was the money was covered in blood. And you're telling me that she provoked him?
I believe so, Nancy.
Why?
Well, if you're in a room with someone...
What?
If you're in a room with someone you believe might have been involved in a murder, you don't stay there and talk to them about it. You immediately leave the area.
Well, don't you think that it's more his fault since he beat her to smithereens, strangled her, and left her in a pool of her own blood?
Yes, he shouldn't have reacted that way, but...
React. You think a murder is a reaction?
Yeah, we're just hoping for the best. Hopefully he gets out in 10 years or less.
Why is that the best? Why shouldn't he get the death penalty?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
There's two dead bodies. 2 women are dead because of him.
Even if Natalee is dead, you can't prove that he killed her.
I didn't say whether it can be proved or not. I said it's true.
There's no way to say that it's true.
So here in the face, have you seen the photos? Show them the photos, Liz, of the crime scene drenched in blood. You're saying that you hope for the best, that he gets out and a third of his sentence. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, I believe he made the crime scene look worse than it initially was, like you said, to make it look like someone tried to rape her or something like that. So I believe afterwards, the money was just an afterthought. He didn't.
Hey, honey, let me tell you something. Her having her pants pulled off is the least of Stephany's problems. I doubt that's what she would be worried about. She was brutally murdered. As a matter of fact, to Dr. Bill Lloyd, board-certified physician and pathologist, you have reviewed Stephany Tatiana's medical examiner's report. The murder was heinous.
Nancy, she was a victim of severe violent trauma. In addition to the bruises and the scratches and the cuts, she also sustained a fracture to one of her cervical vertebrae. In a young, healthy woman, it's one of the densest bones in the body. Simple strangulation won't break a cervical vertebrae.
So to you, John Ludwick, friend of Joran van der Sloot, he used powerful, almost superhuman force to murder a defenseless woman. And you're saying you hope for the best?
It was a crime of passion and heat of the moment type struggle, and stuff happens. So.
What do you mean stuff happens? He robbed her and took her money and then killed her so she wouldn't be able to testify to it. That is what he told his lawyer. What's heat of the moment?
I believe it just all happened when she confronted him about being involved. It spiraled out of control.
With me right now is a friend of Joran Sloot. You keep saying over and over that Stephany Tassiana, quote, created a killer. How can a woman, a defenseless woman, create a killer out of a hulking Dutchman like Joran Sloot? Why does she create the killer? That's what I want to hear from you, Ludwick.
Well, she put herself in the situation, Nancy. As soon as she found out who he was, she should have left. She shouldn't have started an argument and fighting with him and be in an isolated area where you don't know how to react.
Why did she start an argument? All she did was say, even by his own words, hey, you're the guy suspected with Natalee Holloway? How's that starting a fight, Ludwick?
If I was a woman and I was in her situation, I surely wouldn't have stood around to ask him that question. I would have got out of there.
Okay, so John Ludwick, and I'm speaking now not as a lawyer but as a victim of violent crime myself, you're saying that the murder victim who endured a brutal beating, a superhuman strangulation where her neck bone was actually crushed, the room covered in blood, her clothes ripped off of her post-mortem and left that way to be found, it's her fault. Sir, you know what? Cut his mic. John Ludwick, I reserve this for very, very few people, but you, sir, are a fool. And what you have said sets victims' rights back maybe a couple of 100 years. Take him off the screen. I don't want to look at him anymore.